Hello, and welcome to Computer Games, Retro Arcadia, other such things. Yes. You know who else just boosted it? Dogs of Mastodon. Because I hashtag dogs on there.
Oh, that's really cool.
You shouldn't
We
do
should start
that.
selling
It's
hashtags.
probably a bot, but that's really cool. Now he'll just, yeah.
Boost all cats and dogs. Yeah, it's really cool.
I mean, this is kind of related to dogs and stuff.
You should hashtag cats and dogs with like very hateful cats and dogs things and get that bot to like
Mean
to
cats and
ruin it.
dogs.
Yeah. But I hate
can't even
cats and
tell.
dogs. I hate hashtag cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this? Is it Dragon
There
Quest
we go.
Monsters for Game Boy Type?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's about Dragon Quest monsters. Alright, so hey and welcome. This is back with On Computer Games, and we are going to be talking about Dragon Quest monsters. The original Dragon Quest monsters for Game Boy. It might have been for like Game Boy Color, I think it was actually. So there's that. That's about it. We're going to be talking about Dragon Quest monsters, and it was actually released as Dragon Warrior monsters in North America because Dragon Warrior was already copyrighted or something. But like another game was named that, so or Dragon Quest was already copyrighted or something like that. So they used Warrior instead, and then eventually that changed. And at some point they released now everything is Dragon Quest instead of Dragon Warrior, But yeah, it's kind of an irrelevant tangent. This game came out, I don't even remember when this game came out. Did I mention it in the article? I think I did. Let's see. Really, when this game came out and all the little details of that, I don't go into in this article.
Is it post Pokemon?
Yeah, it's after Pokemon.
You do mention that. It's post Pokemon,
Yes.
so it's like 97 maybe. It's like got to be like inching up on like 97 or beyond, I would say.
1998 is when this game was released. That was when it was conjured into existence. What I say in the article. So, yeah. So there you go. I have a banner here. The banner is Terry. He is the protagonist of Monster or Dragon Quest Monsters. And what Terry does is he's like a kid in this game. He's actually a character from Dragon Quest 6 that you fight a few times. He's kind of like an anti-hero, and at the end of the game, he actually joins your party, and he's the coolest looking character in the game. And Dragon Quest Monsters has a habit of taking the coolest characters in the games and then making them the main character of Dragon Quest Monsters. Like the new Dragon Quest Monsters is coming out. Dragon Quest Monsters 3 takes the Demon King from Dragon Quest 4, and he's really cool looking. He looks like Sephiroth. So I think that's an ongoing meme that they do is they take the only cool characters from Dragon Quest and they make them the main characters. But anyways, Terry is the main character. He's like a little kid in this game, so it takes place before Dragon Quest VI. And you can see here he's marching with a chicken in the background, a cow, and a Dragon Quest slime, following behind him. In Dragon Quest, there are 3 monsters that you can have in your party at any time. And in this particular scenario, Terry has a chicken, a cow, and a generic slime in his party, and he is marching them towards a slaughterhouse. So that's the banner. And I will take the banner off now, and we can start the discussion.
Awesome.
My man.
That's a great banner.
Yeah, I like that banner.
That's great, dude. That's really freaking cool. And I'm just gonna pull the see it for myself. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, that banner was awesome. Let's go right into it. I think. If you want, for those that didn't get it, I think it's a pretty obvious illusion, but it's a great one. Aesthetically and like thematically brilliant. I think like minimalistically brilliant. One of your best titles, I think. Kill All Monsters. And that's one if you want to. For those that might not get it, if you want to say where you got that idea from to call it that, and why it's called that, and where that's from.
Sure. I'm not sure where I got the idea from. I think it was just a catchy 3-word thing that I thought of. So explain the significance of the title, Kill All Monsters. The game is about what I call death ethics. is what I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start using that term now from now on. I thought about that. I came up with that death ethics, and basically what it means is like when can we just start killing shit? You know, when can we just start? And when can we do that and not be held accountable for it? Which we'll get into. So death ethics. Dragon Quest Monsters is about taming monsters and using those monsters to kill other monsters. So basically, it's about killing monsters. So in a way, Kill All Monsters is just a very descriptive title of what you'll be doing in the game, which is killing monsters. But you also tame and breed monsters. So the kill part isn't like outright stated in the game. Perhaps like the monsters just pass out or something, but it doesn't ever say that. And a few parts in the game imply that they die or perish or something, or their souls go somewhere. So you're doing something. You're doing bad stuff to these monsters, and you're killing them. Seems like they die. Really, there's no other solution to the game's problems other than kill monsters to progress. And a lot of RPGs, especially JRPGs, are like this, where like the progression mechanics are essentially you get into random encounters or boss encounters and you kill or defeat the opponent, which is kind of a limited way of progressing. You know, some RPGs do better in that they allow you to avoid violence, like a lot of computer RPGs like Baldur's Gate and things like that, and other more in-depth RPGs that have choices and real RPG mechanics other than just random encounters and turn-based battles, usually have some sort of non-violent path, at least sometimes, but JRPGs almost never do, which is interesting. I've never really thought about why that is. Maybe that's worth exploring, but not here. And the word monsters in the title kind of refers specifically, obviously, to the game itself, where monsters are the main focus, but it's also a euphemism just for animals in general. So if you see the alt title of this could have been Kill All Animals, and it would have worked just the same. And that would be, I guess, a dark, ironic title. As you shouldn't kill any animals, in my opinion. So you can see, like, in the actual title, I was fooling around with paint.net, and basically what I did was I put the text there, Kill All Monsters, in white, and then I deleted it, and then I put an image behind it, which was an image of blood and pigs at a factory farm and hot dogs and a chicken's eye and stuff, and you can kind of see that a little bit. Let me see if I can like zoom in on some of it. Like hold on. Right there in the M, if you see that, that's a chicken's eye. And obviously there's blood above it. There's a 6, which is part of a 6-piece chicken nugget meal, and then there's a hot dog next to it. Over here, there's you can't see.
Yeah, that was. Yeah.
You can't see
it now.
The awl has like a pig face. Before. Yeah, the awl has a pig face, but you can't see it here because of. Well, actually, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me just put it. Yeah. So the awl has a pig face here.
Fantastic.
1 second. You can see the pig's face right here in his snout. And then below that, it's really hard to tell, but there's a painting of like Satan from a medieval painting that's kind of psychedelic colored. Okay. So you can't really tell, but that's his eye right in the R.
Okay, yeah.
And in that painting, he's like holding up dead human bodies, and there's like blood dripping from them. So there's significance there, as we'll get into, I guess. But yeah, that's the meaning of the title. Kill All Monsters.
Cool. That's awesome. I overthought it, I guess, and that's how I treat everything. It's really cool, and probably maybe you did this subconsciously, or maybe you're gonna think what I think is stupid. But there's isn't there like a Godzilla movie called like Destroy All Monsters?
Destroy All Monsters. Yeah. Maybe it came from that
Godzilla thing, dude. And that was what I thought. I was like, that's awesome. Like I thought it was Godzilla, and I was like, Japanese people made this game. Japanese people made Godzilla. Like Godzilla is almost like about kind of like doing to us, like punishing us for what we do to each other, which is what we do. So like I took it really far, and I think that's probably that's you put that there. That's so cool. I love the title.
The Destroy All Monsters bit. Maybe I subconsciously did that because I think I thought about that after I wrote it, but I didn't do that on purpose. And I'd make no mention of Godzilla or any kaijus or whatever they call them in the essay. So definitely wasn't intentional.
I thought you were doing like how I do with like how we talked about last night with the Dante stuff.
the
Like I put it
Inferno,
in there and I could
just throwing
explain
it
it,
in there. Yeah.
but I didn't explain it in the essay,
Right.
because it's not to be explained. So cool. Yeah. So now they got the ties. Is there anything else I wanted to add? I don't think so. That was a wonderful answer. Part one, we're going to talk about just so we understand the video game that we're computer game
Mm-hmm.
that we're talking about.
The computer
You
game.
might have talked a little bit about this already, but what is the Dragon Quest Monsters series? Because Dragon Quest is already that traditional JRPG, kind of Final Fantasy competitor. But Dragon Quest Monsters is not that. So where did it come from? What do you know about it? What do we need to know? If I've only played Dragon Quest, what do I need to know about Monsters? And that's true. I've never played a DQM. So.
Right. So Dragon Quest Monsters, if you've only played Dragon Quest, just like reverse the battles, and that's Dragon Quest Monsters. Kind of. You control the monsters instead of the party, but you don't actually fight humans, so that comparison isn't exactly 100%. But basically, you control the monsters. It's like Pokemon for kids who crush turtles and impaled bugs on sticks when they're in elementary school. It's created by Yuji Horii, who is the creator of Dragon Quest. And I'm guessing he wanted to capitalize on Pokemon in some way because this came out after Pokemon and is very, very similar to Pokemon. So he had the idea to just like infuse Dragon Quest with Pokemon. And it's a good idea because Dragon Quest has a lot of very easily recognizable monsters that were all created by Akira Toriyama of Dragon Ball fame, as you know. So a lot of the monsters are very iconic, like the slimes and the king slimes and the slime knights and the jail cats and the Drakis and all of that stuff. It's very iconic and it works very well. It fits a Pokemon like Pookie-like very well. Yeah. So that's what it's kind of like. In Dragon Quest Monsters, basically in the game, you tame monsters, you breed monsters, and then you go adventuring through these portal worlds and you kill monsters to progress. And the goal, ultimately, is to make the best monster by breeding and win a tournament, among other side story things that really aren't important. Side note is I don't think story has ever been important in Dragon Quest, and to be frank with you, the only Dragon Quest game that I've played, and I've played almost all of them, that I enjoyed the story in was 5, which has a very good, compelling story that spans like multiple generations, and your character like grows up from being like a baby boy to like a teen. And in that game, it's kind of interesting because that game you can tame monsters, like specific types of monsters. And when you're a boy in that game, you have a friend monster who's like one of those little tigers that you become close with, and that thing grows up as well. And Dragon Quest V, like I probably will write an article on that eventually because it's a really good game. But I don't want to go off on a tangent. 5's good.
Will you play it again, or will you just write an article on it?
No, I would play it again. Yeah, absolutely.
The DS version, right?
Yeah, the DS version. I think it's the only English version, technically.
Yeah. Official.
Yeah, but every other Dragon Quest story, is just I don't know there.
Oh, there's Android probably. I'm not positive, but they might have that one.
Yeah, there is an Android
one. It's the same one. It's probably on Android. You're not gonna play it on this.
I'm not gonna play it.
It can be though. Those versions are not bad. Like JRPGs like that are not bad on the phone.
I played a lot of Dragon Quest 3 on the phone. And that was really, I don't know, it worked really well. So I'm not opposed to that.
The DS, because you got it. You own it, the DS.
Yeah, I own that.
I do too. I think I got it in my my drawer right here.
Yeah. So I would prefer to play it on the DS, but yeah.
And that's like, I want to point out, I think, and maybe you've got some stronger thoughts about it, but this game, while this game did post-date Pokemon, I think DQ5 predated Pokemon, right? So DQ5 is kind of like, I don't know, I haven't played this game, right? So, but I have played Dragon Quest V. I haven't beaten it, but I've played a good 20 or 30 hours of it. Is it any similarity there? I mean, it's not exactly the same. I don't think I had breeding DQ5, or did it? I don't remember.
No, DQ5. Yeah, that's what I was saying. In DQ5, you can actually tame some monsters, but I don't think you can tame all the monsters, and you definitely can't breed monsters. So it's kind of like the precursor to this game a little bit.
And it's before Pokemon. I think that's interesting that maybe someone watching that hasn't played any of these games might.
Yeah, I didn't make that
Like a lot of people
connection.
have heard of Pokemon, but and that's something that I like about like Dragon Quest, even Dragon Quest 8. I know it's not the best one, but it's one of the ones I like a lot for I don't know why, but it has a really neat little gimmick where you can I don't know how it's put in there, but you can have like a monster team that you send out,
Yeah, I remember that.
and you
Yep.
can catch certain ones,
There
and
was like a
that's
tournament
probably
like
not
that.
the only two.
Yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
so that was cool, and then you could like go out in the world and like as a special move, you could send out. Like we sent out the three golems. They actually had a team name. It's called My Three Golems. And it would do like a special move or something. So Dragon Quest was like kind of like before Pokemon with some of these ideas. So I wonder what was before Dragon Quest. You know, what the one of the earlier, if there was an earlier monster battler. I don't know.
Shin Megami
Great. That was
Tensei, I would
great.
say. Well, maybe,
Oh,
right?
you know what? Yeah, yeah. Or Megami Tensei on the NES. I don't know what year that came out, and if that probably had to have Tame of Monsters. I never played that, and it came out in English.
Hmm.
I don't even know if it was very good. But yeah, SMT1 is probably 92. It's gonna be pushing it though. DQ5 is a SNES title as well, right? So like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be around the same time. I don't know if one of those would have copied the other.
Hmm.
But SMT is definitely more like Pokemon than DQ5.
Yeah, SMT was
Uh,
1992.
it was very deep too. Like that one, it had the fusing and all that as well.
Hmm.
I'll have to do a SMT. I've never played SM or beaten SMT two. I've beaten SMT. So maybe I'll do SMT two one day and do a chapter. That could be up. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Um, the story. There is one that's kind. I know you said DQ don't have good stories, but for kids, for the primary audience, like you get
Yes.
to learn like your first like world tree myth maybe by playing this game. Like I hope my son or that plays games like this, or there are games similar to this coming out that he wants to play.
Right.
Because he can't handle FF16, or a real good
The
story like
combat
Metal Gear
system's too
Solid, and
complicated in that game, right? The game's too hard.
what?
FF16 is
Yeah,
too
yeah.
complicated, you know? It's too hard
For a 5-year-old,
to bash
right?
a button.
Right. A 12-year-old, a 5-year-old could beat it, but he's not going to appreciate the story the way his
Right.
dumb 30-year-old father did, right? A 14-year-old could. I'm not saying it's like inaccessible for a child,
Yeah.
but for a 5-year-old, a 5 or 7-year-old might play this one and like the idea that there's the story that you're going to tell me about and tell us about,
Sure, I can tell you about the story.
if you want.
So I went over it a little bit, but you play as Terry. He's the blue-haired, or I'm sorry, the blue-clad young boy. He's probably like, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. You can see him in the upper right corner, with him doing a thumbs up. That's what he looks like. He's got white hair. He's in a blue tunic, and he's got a blue beanie on, or something like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he wakes up one day, and his sister is being kidnapped by some like weird chubby monster. Um, and afterwards, another monster comes out named Wadabu. He like comes out of like Terry's closet or something, and says Terry can find his sister if he travels to Wadabu's world, which is actually the world of what's called Great Tree. It's just like a big tree that pierces the heavens. Um,
Mm-hmm.
which I like the first line that I wrote here. High above the clouds, a great tree pierces the heavens like the mythological Yggdrasil, with branches resembling legendary dragon-slaying halberds impaling the clouds and thick dew-encrusted leaves falling from such great heights that they disintegrate before touching the ground. So that is kind of my take on Great Tree, and you can see it depicted
Yeah.
here in this image. Um, Great Tree's cool. It's a nice setting. It's a hub world, and this is really the only town that's in the game. It's a hub, but it's got different branches and different levels, and you can see from this image here that a lot of the branches are like this big, lush, leaf encrusted area. Like right here is the bazaar, and you can see the merchant there and everything. So, um, it's a cool setting, I think.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Yeah, so he agrees. Obviously, goes to Great Tree, and in Great Tree, he becomes like a monster master, or he's like training to be one. there's like a bunch of different great trees. So there's a bunch of big trees, and each one has a monster master. And Terry is picked as the monster master for Great Tree. And all the big trees have a tournament that they participate in, a monster battling tournament called the Starry Night Tournament. And the tournament determines which tree country has like the best monster master and allows you to make a wish that'll come true. Like if you win, you get to have any wish granted, like the Dragon Balls. So Terry obviously wants to do this to find his sister, and that's basically the plot. He's trying to become the best monster master, and he's doing it by climbing a hill of dead animal bodies, dead monster bodies to do it. Yep.
So Terry's on a quest, and usually in good stories, a quest is usually got two things that it's about. It's usually there's a stated purpose, right? Mm-hmm. Which is to in this one, it's to save his sister and return home. Correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was following that. Okay, I'm trying. And then, but usually there's also a not stated, like a true purpose, right? Which is, for example, in Ingmar Bergman's Wild Strawberries, it's about a professor who's on a trip back to a university to get like an award, like a high honor at the end of his life. And so that's the quest, right? Every trip is a quest. So he goes on this quest to do this. He goes on a 9-hour car ride and meets some people and has some memories and stuff. But really, most quests, the real purpose is like self-discovery, right? And so I forget what Wild Strawberries was really about, in my opinion. He was like coming to terms with like some of the failures in his life and his bad marriages and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of that in this game. Like Terry,
did he learn something about himself? Does it try to be a kind of a cool story like that?
No, I was going to make a joke, but not really. I mean,
I
think there's like hints of it maybe, and I have some things to talk about that going forward, but not really. The game isn't really trying to do that very much. Maybe it does. I don't know. So like the plot of the game is like ultimately once you become like the Monster Master and you do the final tournament battle, it turns out that the final battle, and this is a spoiler for a very old game, is his sister, who was also kidnapped to become a Monster Master for a different country. And you battle it out, you beat your sister, and then it turns out that you didn't need the wish after all. It's just you and your sister, both Monster Masters, and then you go back home, you wake up, and you wonder if it's all a dream or whatever. But yeah, I mean, we'll get into it. There's more about the whole thing. So yeah.
Because I wonder, I don't know exactly examples, but you see this stuff at the beginning of the movie. Sometimes the brother and sister they don't get along, and then they go to the other world and they have to solve problems on their quest, which is to go back home. That's the stated purpose, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the movie, when they make it back home, it turns out the true purpose was my sister's not that bad. My brother's not that bad. And so it's really about family, or it's really about the people that you hate. Maybe you got more in common than you thought before.
No, that's not what this game's about at all. No, he loves his sister. He idolizes his sister early on, and he wants to find his sister, and that's it. Yeah, and she gets kidnapped, and he wants to save her. That's the plot. Terry is a silent protagonist, so there's no real character development in what Terry does.
He's about killing monsters. Yeah, it's just killing all the monsters.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so what is the gameplay loop like? I know we've talked a little bit about it, maybe a little to a middle about it. But is there anything you want to add or really cement in the viewer's mind regarding, if I play this game, I know there's a hub world, you've said, and you're going out to be the Monster Master. What are you going to be doing over and over again as you make your way through this game?
So the gameplay loop is there are different portal worlds. At the start, there's only one, but once you beat that one, another few portal worlds unlock. There's also the tournament tiers that you need to battle through to be eligible to participate in the Starry Night tournament. So after you beat a portal world, the King of Great Tree will be like, okay, you can do the next tournament tier battle, and then you go fight some other Monster Master in the tournament arena and beat him, and then that unlocks more portal worlds. So basically, you go to Portal, you tame monsters from that world, and you tame monsters by feeding them, just by attacking them and beating them up. And sometimes at the end of a battle, they'll say, "Hey, I want to join you," or something. And if you feed them meat during the battle, they're more likely to join you. So there's a meat aspect, and there's different levels of meat that you can give them. With some meat, like almost guaranteeing that they'll join you after the battle, and some not so much. But basically, you tame monsters, you level those monsters up. You can breed the monsters together, so you breed new monsters if you want. And breeding is really good. It makes your monsters like significantly better because they keep all of the attacks from both of the parents, and their stats increase like exponentially. The child stats are much better than just a normal slime that you would get in the overworld by taming it. So breeding is kind of mandatory if you want to have an easier time in this game. And this game's kind of hard if you just not doing the breeding. So once you start breeding, it gets a lot easier because you're a lot more powerful. And basically, you use those monsters to beat the boss of the portal world. And once you beat the boss of the portal world, you do the tournament battle and you unlock more portals, and then you repeat. And I will say that some of the bosses of these portal worlds are like really bizarre. So you can see from my essay, there's one portal world. There's like a few portal worlds where I don't know if they were thinking, like I don't know what they were thinking, but am I stupid? Hold on. Let me type eggs. That's probably better. So the boss of one portal world is like this dragon mom. She's like a big dragon. But if you go into her lair, and like she's just sitting there like chilling, and she won't even attack you. So I have here in one instance, Terry comes across a large green dragon surrounded by her near ready to hatch eggs, and Terry talks to the dragon mom, but she's content and she has no troubles in the world, and she won't even attack you. So Terry is stuck with no true opponent. So what do you do to complete this world? But luckily, the adventure so far has conditioned Terry into making the obvious choice, which is to start going up to the eggs and hitting the action button and killing all of the little baby dragons that come out. And once you kill enough of them, the mom grows angry and attacks you. And then that gives Terry the perfect excuse to kill her as well. And once Terry's monsters are done feasting on the mother's corpse, Wadaboo, the monster that recruited Terry, comes out and congratulates Terry on his victory, teleporting him back to Great Tree. That's all in a day's work for a seasoned monster master like little 8-year-old Terry. So I thought that was very strange. Like, it was a very odd thing to put in the game, like a children's game, is to start messing with the eggs and then like attack the mom. Very weird. So I think that's kind of where I got. We get into this later, but that's where I started thinking about this game as like. No, it was earlier than that actually, because there's another example from the game. The first quest that you go on, the first portal world, is like you have to, like the farmer of the monster ranch that you put all your monsters in tells you one of the monsters has escaped. So he's like, I want you to go find the monster. So you go to the portal world where you're told and that he is, and I think, let me find that. I have that in here too. Heal. So another telling example, early in Terry's adventure, he's tasked with traveling through a world in search of a missing heel slime. And that's one of those slimes that has tentacles. And after countless floors, Terry finally comes face to face with the creature, a blue jellyfish-like being with a signature bright slime smile. The heel slime, who has a name, and you learn its name is Hale, explains that he ran away from the monster farm because life was frightening and he yearned for freedom. And he pleads to be left alone. But that's not acceptable. Terry readies his monsters and launches a full frontal attack on Hale, beats him into submission. And once he beats him into submission, Hale gets up and says, hey, I want to join your party. So you agree, you say, okay, you can join my party. And then what I did as the player and as Terry is I just sent Hale right back to the farm he escaped from to languish in sorrow for the rest of his life until I used him to breed something. So he escaped from the farm, was sent right back to the farm. That's how it goes. So I thought that was a weird one as well. It seems like monsters have no... They can actually talk in this game, so monsters can vocalize. I put that here in the essay as well, which is another aspect that makes it different from animals. But you can see here Monster Masters, just for the sake of it, they pit monsters against each other like dog fighting. Only unlike dogs, these creatures can talk and they can vocalize their pain in human tongue. So Hale, for example, says that he doesn't want to be like in the farm. He doesn't like it. It's scary and he wants to be free. He's actually talking and using your language, but no, these are lesser creatures to you, and we're better than you, and that's basically it. So 2 weird examples of how this game kind of, I don't know if the writers were just kind of monsters themselves, and they were just like, didn't think about this stuff. I guess they didn't, because I didn't get the impression that this was trying to give you a message or anything like that in the game. And
the monsters are they're cute, but like I guess maybe it's some lost in translation from Japanese to English. But like while they're adorable in Dragon Quest, like they're very mean and very strong.
Yeah, but in this game,
like,
and you can see it in this game, you can see it in the actual video. That in Great Tree, they coexist with monsters at Great Tree. So there's Great Tree.
Okay.
They live with monsters. They're just walking around and you talk to them. So the monsters in the Portal worlds are aggressive and they will attack you for the most part. That Dragon Mom doesn't attack you, but most monsters will attack you. Hale didn't attack you, but the random encounters, of course, is part of the gameplay. They attack you, you defeat them or whatever. But again, like that's part of the gameplay, and I guess you could make the argument that you're encroaching on their territory. I don't know, but I think I don't know. You coexist with them in Great Tree. So some monsters it's okay, you guys can chill out and we'll respect your rights, but other monsters, no, you go to the farm or we force you to have sex with other monsters and breed you into obscurity and other weird things. So next caller.
Wow, holy cow, that's a lot. What a horrible thing to do. Just something so sentient. All right, so in your opinion, I got the question as written, and then as like maybe I could reword it. I asked, how does it stack up to other creature collections, and also, with your answer to that, are you gonna play another one of these games? Like maybe maybe you have like DQM2. Have you played that one, or would you play that one?
No, I plan to play all of the Dragon Quest Monster games. So DQ, maybe not 2, but I'm definitely gonna play 3 when it comes out, because that one's coming out I think later this year, so that one looks good. It's for Switch, so I'm excited about that one. But in terms of stacking up to other creature collections, I think it's somewhat ahead of its time. So it's obviously inspired by Pokemon, but it has like the breeding mechanics, which I think were inspired by Shin Megami Tensei, which had the similar mechanic of Demon Fusion. Breeding is cool, and it's varied. There's like a lot of different monsters that can be tamed and created. I think there's over 200 of them, so there's more monsters than Pokemon had. But unlike this game is unlike Pokemon in terms of progression and world building. So unlike Pokemon, this game feels like a mystery dungeon game, like Shiren, which makes sense since Mystery Dungeon series started with the Dragon Quest series, with Tornico's Mystery Dungeon, which was a Dragon Quest spin-off game. So the ways that it feels like a Mystery Dungeon is like all the floors on every Portal world are randomly generated. You could randomly like run into a casino floor or a merchant floor or a priest floor, and the layout of every floor is different. So in that way, it's very much like Mystery Dungeon. All the items you find are randomly generated. So if you're looking for like, unlike Pokemon, if you're looking for Pokemon, this definitely isn't it, other than the monster collecting aspect. Pokemon to me is like an adventurous, town-based, journey-based RPG. But, that adventurous kind of journey feeling isn't present in Dragon Quest monsters, I would say. There's a hub world, which is the Great Tree. You're not going to any other towns. You do everything at Great Tree, then you go to the Portal Worlds. There's no Viridian City or bike to unlock. So if you're looking for some sort of like sweeping journey, this is not it. This is more like Shiren the Wanderer, with the town, random regenerated dungeons in a hub town. So it's like Shiren the Wanderer, but with more random encounters, turn-based combat, and animal and monster abuse. So yeah, that's how it stacks up. Are there like a lot of other? I don't think there are a lot of other monster collecting games at this time. I mean, I'm not fully versed in the genre, but I would say Shin Megami Tensei is probably one of them. I would say Pokemon is definitely one of them.
10 probably.
And then
There's that one that Yokai Watch, right?
I'm talking about during this era, like
Okay, yeah.
1990.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the genesis of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, I think. Yeah, especially, and it's still not even that many, even nowadays.
All right.
Yeah, cool. Well,
Yokai
that's
Watch.
great. That's a great answer. Now we're gonna move on to I think what's gonna be actually the like more interesting part. Not that wasn't interesting. That's not saying that was great. But the cool part about this essay, this is one of the best ones on the website. I think we both agree. It was a fun read for me. I enjoyed reading it a second time today. But really not because I want to play that game. I might. It does sound like it's a pretty solid game if I get into creature collecting games. I like Dragon Quest a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Buru does as well. But with that, if you're good, and we're good on part one, the game, we can move on to part two, the animals.
Yeah,
Question
absolutely.
one: what prompted the comparison between Dragon Quest? What part in the game where maybe that's one part where you could take this. But what prompted the comparison between DQM and the concept of animal liberation? Not that you're advocating for that, but like the idea that like, man, we should consider the animals. We should think about what we're doing.
I do advocate for animal liberation. In a perfect world, I definitely do, and you can see in one of the images that I made, which I like this image. It says Buru Gang has been wiped out. The animals now rule. And then the subtitle of this image is Animals have revolted. The factory farm liberated. The humans subjugated. I don't advocate for human subjugation, but it's just a nice little flair there. But so what prompted me between Dragon Quest monsters and the comparison to animal liberation? So I think I've already kind of laid it out. Based on what we talked about, is that there's a lot of weird stuff going on in this game. You coexist with monsters, and also you're subjugating them, taming them, forcing them to kill each other. You're doing it for sport, and it's even worse because you coexist with them in this world, and they can speak English. So it's very strange. It's very, very, it's very. I would go as far as say
It's like
war.
It's like not even like
Yeah, it's like they're humans,
slavery, right?
Yeah, it's like they're humans, pretty much, right? It's like, and I see no distinction, so I think we'll get into that soon. So, what prompted the comparison? So I played this game for a long time, probably like a full month. I started playing this game on a business trip. When I played it on this, which is my Mio Mini Plus, which I really love this thing, but I haven't played anything on it since I played the game. Yeah. And I really like this thing, the Mio Mini Plus. It's a great handheld. This is not what this is about. I have an article where I talk about that. Anyways, I was playing this on a business trip on the plane. I started playing that game. And I played it because I think I played this game when I was younger, but I didn't play it for very long. But I played it, and I had a distinct memory of me playing it. So it was kind of nostalgic for me, so I wanted to play it again and get that experience. But I played it for a long time, and at first I was just going to write about like a charming Dragon Quest game. And I had a vision of this essay in my mind where it was going to be like, I think the essay title was going to be like Pokemon Studio Gilby version or something like that. And the words Gilbian were used to describe the great big tree setting and all that, which I eventually scrapped all that. But I do like the word Gilbian as a descriptor. Or Ghiblian, sorry. People call it Studio Ghibli, I think is what it's called. I've always called it Gilby because I have dyslexia and stupidness in my brain.
I think that's confirmed. Yeah, I really believe that you're dyslexic. I think you have to be.
Yeah,
You've done. I noticed that about you. Like I've known you a long time, and I noticed that about you. Like back in high school, I think. Like you did that a lot.
Yeah, I have minor dyslexia. I've met people like one of our friends, Miles. He can barely write. Like he can't spell, and that's like very major dyslexia. You can understand what he writes, but he just can't spell basic stuff that you would expect most people to spell, which isn't a problem. I mean,
no, who cares?
Yeah. And especially, it's not a problem in this day and age when you have a lot of stuff like ChatGPT or even Word or anything that'll autocorrect you, right? So it doesn't really matter. Um,
Yeah,
but
grammar is hard. I'm not great at it. Like, I'm really bad at it.
there's a lot of weird rules with grammar that I've started to learn just naturally
Hmm.
while I've been writing. So one of them that confused me to no end and still kind of confuses me is who and whom. I don't know the difference between that. Also, when you do quotations, do you put the punctuation inside or outside of it? So I've learned that like if
Oh,
it's a
I can tell
comma,
you.
I've learned if it's a comma or a period or something like that, you put it inside. But if it's a semicolon
Mhm.
or a colon, you put it outside in almost every case. I think that's right, right?
Okay, hold on. I can only hold the first two questions, so save the third one. The first one was who or whom. I
Yeah.
believe whom is when it's the direct object of the verb. So, for example, the direct object is what the verb is like. Like I hit the desk. Hit is the verb. The
Yeah.
desk is the direct object.
Right.
So, like, to whom I hit, right? To whom I
Was the
sent the
desk.
letter. I sent a letter to a person, or I hit the desk. But who, like, as the subject, like, who did this? Who hit the desk? You would never say whom
Mm,
hit the desk,
makes sense.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but whom was hit? So that's that. That comes from Latin. Latin has the when it's the direct object, it ends with the M. So like
Mhm.
Libra is book, but if I say like the book is something, it's Libra. But if you hit the book, it's Libram, I believe.
Mm,
It's been researched. So that's that
gotcha.
question. I believe with quotes, I'm not perfect. I need to look this one up. This is what I tell
I believe I'm correct on the
clients
quote
at
thing
work.
because I've looked it up several times. Um,
If I
but yeah,
understood
go
the
ahead.
question, is it where if it's for me, if it's a complete quote, like just the sentence, the whole sentence, beginning from first word to the punctuation, if the whole thing is what the dude said, I put the quotes on the outside. Like life is
What?
short, period. Quotes on the outside.
Oh, okay.
Um, I wouldn't do unless because like life is good quotes, life is good quotes, and then period. You think is that what you
So
said?
two periods? No, I would say in that case I would put "life is good" quote in quote period.
Yeah. So
I would
okay,
not put the period in the
yeah,
inside of the quote in that case. I
interesting. So
don't.
I do it that way, but I need to look it up. Then maybe I'm wrong. I'm totally probably wrong. But I do it like if the quote, like if I'm saying something else, like if I say Buru said, quote unquote, life is good, then I would put the period outside the quotes, not inside.
Yeah, I mean I would too in that situation.
But I don't know if that's correct. But I don't. We don't have to get stuck on that. I'll have to.
Yeah,
I'm
we
gonna
shouldn't get
docket
stuck on it.
that.
Yeah, we shouldn't
Um,
get stuck on that.
I'll docket that and just I'll Google it and I'll trust your word. I'll trust your word on it because grammar is really hard, right? Um, but yeah, but who and whom? I believe that was is what does that. But I
No,
struggle with all
hopefully
presence.
yeah, hopefully I'll remember the who and whom thing based on your explanation, which I think was a better explanation than I've had before. And I haven't bothered to look it up because usually it just gets auto corrected. So
And I've never looked it up. I just think it works.
with the advent of autocorrect, like I feel it's kind of like an ad blocker. With ad blockers, what it does is kind of enable people to just make more intrusive ads. I think, and you just
Yeah.
they have to get around the ad blocker. I think with autocorrect, I like autocorrect and I like using tools to help me with grammar, but it also promotes a sort of laziness in our society where you don't really need to know it. You don't need to know the
Mhm.
grammar rules. It'll just correct it for you.
Yeah.
Right? But I mean that's a separate
But
point.
it's not. But it's not even like. I mean, you're right. But like, it can hurt too because like grammar, I firmly and this might be a cope, but like I reject grammar all the time, right? We both
No, I
do.
do too. Yeah.
It's just understanding it really, which is key. But I want understanding, and sometimes correct grammar facilitates understanding. So I will
Yeah, it
try
does. Yeah.
to understand.
If
With
the
time,
grammar
I don't want readers. I don't want to confuse them. But yeah, go ahead.
if the grammar is 100% necessary to make my sentence or paragraph flow and be understood in the way I want it to be, then I will use the correct grammar. If it's superfluous to me and stupid and just trying to follow the rules for the sake of it, I will usually in those cases do whatever I want. But yeah. Anyway, I think we should get back to the question. I don't want to go off on grammar too long, but
Mhm.
so early on, this is just going to be a nice, like, typical review about, a nice, quaint little monster collecting game for the Game Boy Color in the 90s. And I used the word Jublian at one point to describe the game, which I would still describe Great Tree and all that as Jublian. But as I kept playing, like, the Mama Dragon thing kind of, like, kicked me off, and then the Hail thing. Yeah. The game kept doing these weird things like that, So I couldn't stop thinking about, like, just abuse and how this seems like bad stuff that is going on. Like, so the game itself, I think, even acknowledges it at one point, and I don't know if it does this on purpose. I think it just kind of accidentally hits on the truth. But at one point, the game acknowledges it, I think, by having you fight, like, yourself, just evil, like Dark Link, Dark Terry. And there's some line like, if you continue down this path, this is who you'll be, and you, like, fight yourself. But that's really it, and it doesn't really go any further than that. I don't really know what that is.
What path does it say? Do you know what it means by this path?
No, it's just like, don't go down my path, don't become like me, and that's it. So
it's like 4 people wrote this game. Like, and they didn't agree on where to take it,
Yeah, and you can see it. That's what the image right here is. You're behind, but the image where it says Terry fights himself, forced to consider what he has become, a murderer, is what I put. But I don't know if the game actually is trying to tell you that. That's what I got from it, but I don't think the game's actually trying to tell you that. But that screenshot is Terry, the Dark Terry that you fight. The background is obviously not the true background of the game. I superimposed it over a meat market. The plastic trays at the supermarket, murder on display in neatly organized rows and polyvinyl chloride wrap. So there we have it. I think there's more though. So that's what prompted it, like all the weird stuff. The parallels of taming monsters, kind of like tricking or trapping them and then putting them into captivity and then forcing them to breed. Just to use in what amounts to dogfighting seems kind of wicked and malevolent to me. It also feels kind of like factory farming in that way. And I add that throughout the essay, even in the gameplay sections of the essay where I make some subtle and, like, not so subtle, very obvious allusions and mentions of in real life factory farming. So at one point in the gameplay section where I'm discussing the gameplay, which I describe in the introduction as methods of violence. You can see here, Terry's journey to win the Starry Night tournament is intrinsically linked to the pursuit of escalating violence. Like the farmer, selectively breeding chickens with the largest pectoral muscles. That succulent white breast meat so thoroughly craved by the drooling populace. Each monster master has their own selective bred creature to tear through their opposition's flesh. So I make these kind of references to it. There's another one where I say grinding as an evil is necessary as the captive bolt into a calf's brain before the meat tenderizing process begins. That part, I quite like that line because it's just very violent. It's awful. It's a terrible thing that happens. You can see here, the captive bolt into a calf's brain before the meat tenderizing process happens. These are things that nobody likes to hear about and nobody likes to talk about. And I add them in here all the time because it's just part of the essay. So the factory farm of experience must continue for us to have nice things, regardless of the suffering that's caused. There's all this terrible stuff happening every day. There's a cow getting its head just blown into bits or whatever, and captive bolt. And the captive bolt is there's this gun or this machine that is just a big bolt. It just and just done. Like it just kills their brain. And people are like, it's humane. It's so quick. It's terrible.
It's
like,
not though.
It's awful.
Dude, there's a you got to see this if you haven't. That's been that way. There's a scene in one of my favorite movies, low key, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
I've seen that movie.
'70s.
I like that movie.
Okay, so he does that, right? Do you remember that? He talks talking about the gun. I can't remember what he says. He's like, he can't do the gun. He's against it for some reason. He's like, he wants to do the hammer, I think. I haven't seen that movie in probably about 10 years. But
Same,
that was what I think about when you talk about the gun. Like he's like, you can't do that gun. Like, and then he turns out to be a member of a cannibalistic family right?
Of inbred freaks.
Which
checks out. That checks out.
To eat. That checks out. Yeah, that's better than what we do to animals, honestly. Like what that family did to those teenagers is worse than what those teenagers are doing at McDonald's every day, right? Maybe. Um,
True.
I don't know if I cut you out. I don't know if you were finished.
Yeah, I'm
So I don't
finished.
want to.
That's I think I'm done with that section of what inspired me to make the
I loved
comparison.
it. And I thought it was along with what I felt, right? Like that picture with the dinosaur. I was like, that feels on purpose, right? And
Yeah, it
then,
does, doesn't it?
yeah, with Hale, I was like, that feels like the person that was writing the script on that day, and on every day when these things would happen. That was probably the same person. The same person wrote the encounter for, like, well, someone on that dev team was like a vegan, probably.
Yeah,
I just
it was
think
like
maybe one of them.
they were
One
like,
of them was like, this
you
is
need
kind
to
of
write for
fucked
this
up.
game. You need to write for
Yeah.
this game, and they were like, all right, I'll just inject my my vegan philosophy into it subtly. Yeah.
But it is it's a not to I'm not gonna derail. I'm trying to get this quick, but there's a lot of games will do, and I can think of one off the top of my head. There's a part in The Last of Us 2 where the second half of the game you play as like one of the enemies, right?
Hmm.
And when you're playing as the enemy, um, and I like that game. The internet hated it, but I thought it was pretty solid. But when you're playing as the enemy, you walk through like the enemy's camp and it's all calm and like they're petting the dogs, right? And having lunch and kicking their feet back.
Hmm.
And then I kind of realized I'm like, and I know this was on purpose with that game. I was like, man, these are the dogs that I was just killing at the beginning of the game, right?
Hmm.
Because they're the enemy dogs, right? But here they are, like kind of sweet, and so there's that kind of shift. I thought it worked really well. There's that shift. It's like, oh crap, like these are people too. And I
Yeah,
feel like that part in this game, it's like, oh crap, these are people too.
pretty much.
She's
Yeah.
got babies, and I'll think about it later because it's got to be. I know I've felt that before in games and in movies and books and stuff. It's a really cool thing to bring up. But you did a cool thing by like bringing it to like I don't know. My dinner tonight was like steak tacos. It was good. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, So two, are the Smiths, the band? And I guess, I mean, I think I see that picture there, that lovely picture of the Smiths album, Mia's Murder. But are those Smiths lyrics that are in some of these pictures? They're hidden sometimes sideways in the little divider in the
Hmm.
screens. And if so, and regardless of what they are, why? What's going on there?
Yeah, so I'll go over each one. So they're definitely the Smiths, but it's only one song. It's Meat is Murder, the last song on the album Meat is Murder by the Smiths, which is actually my favorite Smiths album, and I think it's the best Smiths album. That is not the popular opinion. People say that Meat is Murder is extremely good, but Meat is Murder, the song itself, brings it down like 6 stars. Most people say because they don't like that song because it's not it doesn't sound good. The song is not very pleasant to listen to. But I think that's the thematic purpose of the song. The beginning of the song is like cows crying and whining, and then like just Morrissey starts crooning over it eventually.
Mm,
I think that's the purpose of the song. It's not supposed to be a
mm,
pleasant song because murdering animals is not pleasant. Um,
mm,
but yes, that's all of the lyrics that are in the images are taken from that. So this creature, or this beautiful creature must die. That's one of the lyrics. It's not natural, normal, or kind. It's one of the lyrics, etc., etc. And then finally, the main line from that song is, "It's a death for no reason, and death for no reason is murder," which I put into this image. So yeah, it is Smiths. All the lyrics are from Smith's songs. In this essay, Meat is Murder, Kill All Monsters, it kind of tries to encompass the essence of that Meat is Murder kind of three word type of thing. Kill all monsters, meat is murder. Morrissey is very direct. He says meat is murder. It's a fact, period. That's it.
yeah,
Mine is
yeah,
more ironic in that it's like your goal is to kill all monsters, and then
yeah,
and the
yeah,
goal of that is you need to think about what you're doing. And that's what
yeah,
my take is on it. Morrissey is more adamant because he is a true vegan, and he
yeah,
truly believes that meat is murder, and I'm inclined to agree with that. So as a
yeah.
kid, yeah, I like the Smiths. They're probably my favorite band. Or one of them. I always go back to them eventually. Sometimes I take big breaks from them and don't listen to them for a while, but that's only because I listen to them just so much. I know like every one of their songs pretty much by heart, and probably could tell you the lyrics of all of them. Not off the top of my head, but when they started playing, I could sing along with all of them. So incorporating the Smiths into the game about killing animals and monsters continuously seemed like a no-brainer to me. Yeah.
Cool. I thought the aesthetic really worked. Yeah, that's a super cool part of it. I thought like tying like this essay I think was kind of like a coming of age kind of thing for the website, right? Like I think it helped me kind of like I don't know, I didn't do this intentionally. Like I never thought like really about this, but definitely this is one that does things that maybe I picked up on. Maybe I did a little bit before. I'd have to look at how they were released. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's awesome freaking essay. But like you've got the game talking about the game going on. But then you've got like tying it to like this really cool concept of like animal liberation and veganism and like and murder, and then like really touching this like really awesome like aesthetic flair that is thematically linked, right? Like your interest in the Smiths. So I thought it had like this kind of like holy trinity, this trifecta going on that was super cool.
Thank you.
So it's a good essay. I really enjoyed reading this one.
One of the things I worry about with these videos, and I'm fine with this, but one of the things I worry about with the videos is that we're kind of sitting here kind of like jerking each other off, it feels like sometimes, but like, I don't know, I just think what you're saying is true, but it's also my work. I'm usually
nice. Like I'm only every now and then saying something. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm usually overly critical of my work, and there's problems with this article, which I have notes on to talk about. But in this one, I do like this article a lot, and I think it's one of my better ones, but I'll get into that later. But yeah, I would agree that
Go ahead. Yeah.
It was a coming of age one for me. I think I kind of got into my groove here, and I think you can see some of it in my other articles, but it's just not as pronounced, and then it just kind of blew up here. I think I was on like a roll when I wrote this, and the next one after this too. But yeah, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
What was right after this? Is it Pajama Sam's not right after this? Is it?
Yeah.
What was right after?
No, Pajama Sam was right after this. I wrote that one like 1 week right after this one because I was on a roll. Yeah.
I remember it was super quick. Yeah, I remember that. I remember like I checked. I was like, oh my god, like there's another one of these. It was like with joy, but like unbelievable, right? I was like.
Yeah, it's so bizarre because I consider them my two best ones, but I need to reread the Pajama Sam one and actually confirm that again. But whatever, let's go on to the next question, I guess.
Pajama Sam is super good. We should do, next weekend, I know I was going to say it, we should do, if you want, or one weekend, we should do Pajama Sam and Xeno 3, probably, I think, in the same weekend, because they're very similar, I think, essays, and they're both really cool. I think you do it a little bit better than me, but we'll talk about that when we get to those. But yeah, I like Pajama Sam. That's a really fun one too. Cool. So now we're going to get into the part where I win my questions, and I know we're up on an hour here, but last time we went for 2, so we're still doing pretty good. But I know we want to get into like talking about like killing animals, and eating animals and that kind of thing. So the question is stylistic, but that's what it's asking. But I got 3 words for you. Is meat murder?
Question mark?
Yeah, question mark. Is meat murder?
I think so. It depends on your perspective, I think, but I am strongly inclined to agree that meat is murder for sure. But it's important to note that murder is a legal term. Murder is just a legal term. The phrase "meat is murder" is really like the phrase "meat is murder" is really what it means, and what Morrissey means is killing animals is immoral or wrong. That's what he's trying to say. Morrissey's use of "meat is murder" as an album title and a song title and lyrics in a song is for shock, because that's how he operates. He's like Oscar Wilde. He tries to be shocking, but also it sounds catchy. "Meat is murder." It's easy. It's a slogan.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you probably you ultimately probably want your anti-murder or anti-killing message to be catchy and slogan-esque. So it works in that way as well. So yes, I would say that. Meat, in terms of killing animals to eat them, is wrong. It's morally wrong. I would probably state that pretty confidently myself. Yeah. Yes. Meat
Like
is
to
murder.
most, like
Meat is murder. To answer your question, yes.
I think yes, and I think what's cool about it is like I almost don't think meat is murder, but I don't even really know. I'd have to really figure out where I'm going with this. But like I think what Morrissey's doing and what you believe and what I probably believe, I do think we're probably exactly aligned on this. But what's cool about calling it murder is that regardless of like of me, if I think there's some kind of like outer space philosophy that can justify it, regardless of that,
Space.
most people aren't meat, right? Like
True.
most people aren't meat. So like most people's like virtues would produce the statement meat is murder, right? I think that's when I kind of start coming to that. Like if you're a
Yes.
Christian and you think you like gotta like treat God's creatures with like respect, like meat has gotta be murder. Cause like, you know, the factory farms and all that. I gotta look at my questions real quick just to make sure I'm not encroaching on future territory. Um but yeah, I agree exactly like you. You're killing an animal. Think the line, the Morrissey line, the Smith's line, was it's death for no reason. I can just hear him saying it, right? Like his
Mhm.
freaking flamboyant wail. It's great. But yeah, murder for no reason, and or killing for no reason, and killing for no reason is murder. Um, thought I had another question, but related to that or something to add, but I didn't.
No,
Let's
that's
move
fair.
on. This one is you don't have to do three, but what I thought, I don't remember what I was thinking, but I was wondering if we wanted to talk about three good reasons or examples of meat like being murdered, like akin to what we call in the human world. Because you and I think we agree that like it's not even just about you and me, but the guy living next door to me who probably buys hamburgers every day and would be like, I would probably put a sticker on his car like F vegans, right?
Yeah, you
Like
would.
even him, according to his morals, he should spit out, right? Like meat is murder. It should produce the equation like meat is murder. So we could trade off examples if three is too much. I can't remember my exact
Sure.
line of reasoning, uh, but yeah, an example of it being murder. Why is it murder?
Well,
A detail.
to be clear, I don't know if the flamboyantly right wing extremist that you live next to would say that meat is murder, or that his moral system would lead him that way. I would argue that he probably thinks humanity is, or humans have more worth than animals. That's probably what he would say,
No, of
and
course,
therefore he
yeah.
can kill them. But I address that here, so we can get into it. So, good reasons why meat is murder. So just as a preface, I think killing anything without their express permission is inherently wrong. I would say that there's a lot of things that are unknown in this world, but I have to assume a few things, and one of the things I have to assume is that other people are alive, and I think this is ultimately an assumption. I don't think this is provable, which sounds like an insane statement, but I don't think it is if you really think about it. I don't think you can prove that you exist, and I don't think I can prove that I exist to you. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense to you. I don't know if it would make sense to viewers because, like, we only experience what we experience. I know I'm experiencing something right now, but why would you trust what I say? Why should you? We make the assumption that you make the assumption that I am another person
Yeah.
and I'm real, right? And I am
It's
alive.
it's the
Am
for
I
viewers that are. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm real and I'm experiencing a similar
Yeah.
thing to you. Yeah.
I was gonna say like for real quick, I didn't want to. I just want to say like for viewers that might be confused, if we're trying to clarify for viewers,
Mhm.
it's Descartes like cogito, right? Like the person watching. Sorry, I don't even shouldn't even name drop that. Um, you exist, person that's watching, but you don't know. I could be a robot. Buru could be a robot. Um, that might not even
You
help.
could just be
That's
like
all.
a
I just wanted to
no.
make a point
So
about that.
I exist, but you could be like a figment of my imagination. I could be a brain in a vat somewhere. It's ridiculous to me right now. It seems ridiculous, but it's possible. So I think you have to make the assumption that other people are alive. And I think that's just something that we all assume. We assume the people around us have similar experiences to us, right? And they survive and they want to live. So I think killing anything without their express permission is inherently wrong because of this, because I think one of our base assumptions is that other people are alive, and the only reason they're alive is because they want to be alive. If they didn't want to be alive, they would be dead. They would kill themselves. So I think one of the things we consume about living creatures is that they want to survive. I think survival is a key thing, and I think you could probably extrapolate everything somebody does to survival. make that argument, and I think I can make that argument pretty strongly. So we can observe this with anything, like creatures like dogs, and the guy who boosted my Mastodon post about dogs, we're getting into dogs, so we're on dog times now.
Right,
so dogs, they're doing stuff to survive, they're eating, they're digging up bones, whatever. It's all points to survival. Like a chicken's doing... Yeah, a chicken in the wild is doing stuff to survive. It's fucking, it's eating food, it's trying to protect itself. Cows, dog, cat, everything they do, including humans, is to survive.
Dog, cat, yeah.
Every example will lead to survival and, quote unquote, maximizing well-being, which leads to better and more survival to me. So, human build house, human build mud hut is to maximize well-being, which increases survival, but also human make guitar music is an increase to well-being because I like how guitars sound, and that makes me happier and not as suicidal and depressed. So all this stuff leads to survival, and we want to survive. So 3 reasons why, based on that. I don't think I can give you 3 reasons. I think I can give you 3 arguments. I can give you 1 reason, and I think that the only reason is that killing stuff without their permission is bad. It's immoral because you're encroaching on their bodily autonomy, is what we would call it for humans. And that's what I would call it for animals as well. We are encroaching on animals' bodily autonomy when we gather them up and then cut their heads off at the factory farm. It's the ultimate how do you say, aggression against a living creature would be to cut their head off or just kill them outright. It's tantamount to I don't know, just anything bad. It's just a
genocide, right? It's tantamount to genocide.
Yeah, factory farming.
If it's true, it's
sure.
genocide. It's genocide. Yeah. It's genocide. It's like, it's worse. It's worse than the Holocaust, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's literally, I'm going to say this out loud. I'm going to go here. Literally. And I don't care. God, this is anti-Semitic. It's like the Holocaust is really bad. I believe in it. It's horrible. But literally, we Holocaust chickens every goddamn day. Yeah. We Holocaust chickens every day. Like, more.
Nobody wants to.
We kill way more than 6 million chickens every day. And we're like, well, like, in some face, they're like, we don't eat chickens on Friday or like whatever, and that's somehow like godly. And that's what I meant about like my neighbor is like, I don't even know where my neighbor is, but he's probably just, even if he's right wing, left wing, doesn't matter. He probably eats meat, and then so do I. But like, I bet my neighbor would be like, yeah, we're better than the animals or whatever. God created the animals for us to like do what we will. But I bet my neighbor somewhere in there, if they were really forced to be honest, because that's what like Foster Wallace adds. Not to talk about the lobster, I wasn't planning to bring that up. But like,
we're good.
If you're forced to confront it, like, you got to think, okay, if it feels like me, this is fucked up. If it feels like I do, this is really, 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 really messed up. And like, why do I extend that to you? You brought that up just a second ago. Like, I believe you exist. So I'm not going to do things to you because I'm assuming you got to feel like I do. But I'm not going to extend it to this thing that doesn't look like me. Which doesn't surprise me because we did it to black people, right? Or to anybody that didn't look like us. Yep. Like, we've done it to human beings and tried to justify it with science. So,
I would say the statement
I would say
the statement
take it over.
No, it's fine. I would say, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've been drinking a little bit. So I would say that the statement that factory farming is worse than the Holocaust, I would probably agree with that. However, I realize that that's an inflammatory statement. And the only reason that's inflammatory is because we, as humans in general, most of us, value humans more than we value other animals. And I think that is not good. I think it's bad. So I'll get into that. But the only reason why somebody would think that statement is inflammatory is because they say humans are more important than animals. So we can kill animals. We cannot kill people in the Holocaust. And I would say that both of their deaths are bad. And one being bad does not delegitimize the other being bad.
Right. That's where I was going. Like, it doesn't lessen the
Holocaust. Both very bad.
Right? People think that it's like, okay, you think it's worse than the Holocaust, so therefore the Jews that got murdered systemically,
it was okay for
documented, and it's real. Yeah, no, that was really, really bad. But also, the chickens were based and they were awesome, and we should respect them too because we ground them into paste, okay, and swung them through the window and called them McNuggets, dude. Like,
Mhm.
we turned a life into a fucking McNugget, and I love chicken McNuggets. Right? I've eaten like thousands
We've
of them. So
turned a
that my
life
next
into a
question.
McNugget. I love that
Do a McNugget,
quote. It's
dude.
great.
Yeah. We put a dude's name on it, dude. Ronald McDonald, the Clownman, right? We put a Clownman's name, the prefix of the Clownman's surname, right? The Clownman's surname.
Clownman.
We're like, you know what, dude? $6.99, you get the McNuggets, man. It's the pink
Mhm.
paste that we've ground, which should be a
The Clownman.
beautiful and not even if I don't even agree with like Native Americans, like killing the animals like holistically, even that is like bad, way better than what we're doing right now. Like but the McNugget is like total fucking sacrilege to that chicken's existence. Like, and honestly, dude, the McNugget when it's ground up, it's probably not all the same chicken. You got 10 nuggets. You probably got 20,000 chickens in those 10 nuggets, probably. Like you're eating just a Holocaust for $7 every day. Like it is a wild thing.
I think
So
the
I
optics
eat
of
it
it. I
though.
think it's important to realize that the optics of it in your audience. So if you're trying to win over people who might eat meat and might think that animals are lesser than humans, maybe we shouldn't be saying that the Holocaust is it's as bad as the Holocaust. We should probably be trying to get on their level because we're just inflaming them. But that's a side point.
Well,
I
my
think.
goal was to get more Twitch followers. I thought I was trying to get more Twitch followers
I
because, like,
am
dude,
right.
I
Yes.
right. So I thought maybe that could go viral, right? I thought
Yeah,
maybe,
let's make that get viral, and
maybe
when we upload the YouTube video, I'll make that the title. So, so the three
yeah, worse than the
the
Holocaust.
the three you said three things. So instead, I'll do three arguments. So there's a bunch of different
Yeah,
arguments that people make for eating meat and why it's okay, and all of these arguments I would argue are extreme cope. They're all cope, and they're a way to justify their mental gymnastics to justify the fact that they are just eating flesh of creatures that were once living and no longer. So there's one. The first argument: animals don't feel pain like we do, or they don't feel pain at all. This argument I don't think is coherent, as pain is subjective even from person to person, and we can observe animals' reaction to violence and extrapolate from that,
yeah,
just like I
yeah,
could observe your reaction to me starting to cut you with a knife, right?
yeah,
I would extrapolate that as you don't want to be cut with the knife because you are screaming and trying to
yeah,
run away from me when I'm coming at you with the knife, right? So in David
yeah.
Foster Wallace's Consider the Lobster, that's where we're going. He says,
Yeah, it's good. Talk about
however,
it. It's good.
however superous the lobster is from the trip home, for instance, it tends to come alarmingly to life when placed in boiled water. So he goes on to say, that basically he says that the lobster, when you put it in boiling water, it just starts to flail. It grabs its claws onto the side of the pot and tries to get out. Even if you put a lid on it, it's still flailing about, and you can hear the lid going off. He says that even if you cover the kettle and turn away, you can usually hear the cover rattling and clanking as the lobster tries to push it off, or the creature's claws scraping the sides of the kettle as it thrashes around. The lobster, in other words, behaves very much like you or I would if we were plunged into boiled water.
Yeah,
So this whole argument that like our brains are different, our nervous system's different, it's not coherent to me. If we're both thrown into fucking boiling water, we're gonna be
yeah,
fucking trying to get out of that shit. And you can tell that from a
mhm,
lobster, which is not like a human. You can do that to a human, they would
yeah,
do the same shit. So that argument I don't think
yeah,
works,
yeah,
because even if our nervous systems are different and wired differently, we're still experiencing something that we don't like,
yeah,
and we're encroaching on that bodily autonomy. The
yeah.
next one, I mean, I guess I can
Can I
open it
talk
up.
about that one
Yeah,
real
yeah, yeah,
quick?
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I wanted to add before I forgot. It's not because like you're going too long. You're very interesting. It's just like my brain will not hold like my thoughts at the moment, so I just want to get this one out.
Mhm.
Um. No, give me like 10 seconds to remember what it was. Because it was good. I think I added. Oh, like the argument from pain, like that, which was the first argument, right? Like, oh, they don't feel pain like us. Like the argument from pain is trash. Like you're absolutely right. But I wonder, even so, what if they didn't, right? Like, so fucking what if they didn't? like there are human beings that have problems where like they have to live like really sheltered lives because they don't feel pain and they can like die on accident because they don't feel it. Like it's my existence. Like if it were me, like the argument, like I might take, and not to steal one of the examples if this is one of yours, but like the argument from like I only get one of these, whatever this is, regardless if I'm myself, regardless of anything, I only get one, and that it really goes to your argument of it's like me. The lobster, whether it's feeling pain or not, it's like me in that it's experiencing fucking something, right? Like something it's feeling there. So I'm gonna fucking mix its tail meat up with mayonnaise and put it on a hot dog bun, right? And what is the really like tasteless festival? Like if I'm to trust the article, it seems like the
It's an
article like
Aztec
the festival seemed like
sacrifice.
right, or the Roman circus. I think he says at the end,
Yeah,
right? Was that what
yeah,
he said there?
yeah.
That was a great art. That was the awesome essay. Yeah, I like that. That felt like reading like a pop like philosophy article. It was really fun and like really
That article's really
highbrow
good.
and
I
really
like how it
like
just veers off into like right when he talks about the boiled water, it just totally goes off track from there.
yeah.
I love it. It's great.
Holy cow.
There's another article.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's for 3 reasons. There's another argument people use, which we've talked about a little bit, which is animals are lesser beings, quote unquote. Like humans are more important than animals. We give more moral worth to animals. I'm sorry, to humans than we do animals. First of all, we classify humans as animals scientifically, but whatever. Next is, I don't think this is tenable because, one, when we try to examine this argument, and people will say humans are more important or they're more morally respectable, except, sorry, I got burps. They're more important, and animals are lesser beings than humans. And humans have dominion over them or whatever. If we try to drill this down into why humans are more important or than animals, it just doesn't make sense when we start to drill it down. So we can make the same arguments about animals as we can about certain humans. So one of them is like animals aren't smart, they're dumb, they can't make a house, they can't build a skyscraper, they can't ride an essay.
So they don't deserve to exist.
Right. So animals are not smart. So this one's really easy to me because my cousin is diagnosed with severe autism and can't talk, and he's 30 years old. He's older than me, and he wears a diaper and he hits people really hard when he gets mad and can't watch his Disney movies. And this is true. I mean, I grew up with him every summer.
Yeah. No, I met him. I've met this. This is absolutely true and very a lot of gravity here. I'm just telling the audience a lot of gravity. Right. This is a true story. Like
he's not smart. He's dumb. He's one of the dumbest people I've ever met, and I'm not saying that as to be mean. I'm not saying that to be mean. He's legitimately, in every aspect of the word, he's just not up to stuff, right? So is it okay if I just like cut his arms off and eat him? I don't think so. It's not okay, and I couldn't tell you why it's not okay.
He's gonna try to hold on to the pot. He's gonna try to get out of the pot.
He would try to get out of the pot because it would hurt. So I could tell you why it's not okay. I could say, hey, because he's a living being and he has bodily autonomy, even though he's really stupid. He deserves to exist because he's experiencing sentience and he's experiencing life. And if we take that away from him, we are essentially just raping him, right? We're violating his bodily autonomy. It doesn't matter how smart he is. It's not okay to kill him. Animals, you could make the same argument. I would say that my cousin is probably not as smart as my cat. I would make that argument. My cat does smart things sometimes that this
your cat
guy
could survive on its own, maybe.
Yeah,
your cousin could never survive on his own.
People say, "Oh, that's just the cat instinct and all this other stuff." It's like, well, instinct and intellect—they're not that different, and we can get into that.
They're not. No.
Yeah. We can get into that argument, which is actually
and even someone that that doesn't feel pain. I think your argument works for, right? Like a person that doesn't feel pain. If you threw them into boiling water, they're like, yeah, this doesn't hurt, but like if I want to keep experiencing things, I need to get out of this pot.
I need to get out of the water. Right?
Yeah. And that's why we feel pain, probably, right? Biologically, evolutionarily, we feel pain probably because, like, dude, realistically, if I thought I could survive without doing it, I probably wouldn't eat fucking anything, right? If I could press a button and if eating could never be a part of my life,
I would do that.
I would press that button.
If I never had the urge and I didn't eat it,
yeah. Now I love pizza and I love all the other stuff, but I don't know. I need time. I would save so much money. I would save so much time. Like
Same.
I would miss family meals maybe. Like sometimes like weird stuff happens at family
Yeah.
meals that are kind of nice or interesting. Cookouts, but we'll find other reasons to get together, right?
True.
Eating like yeah,
I could
I
take
don't
a
know.
I could take a
I lost
leaving.
myself, but yeah.
Yeah, I could take a leaving for sure. I think it goes into the next argument, which is animals don't experience sentience like we do. This is a common argument that you hear that people will say animals aren't sentient. They're not sentient. I think sentiment is a word, or sentience is a word game. I don't think sentience is a real thing. First of all, so how is this? I don't know how this is even considered because when
Well,
we
this
look
is
at
what we have, right?
that's what we say we hit. That's what we describe
Right,
sentience as
right.
what we experience, and I would say that it's just a word that we describe the human experience. So what people are saying is that animals don't have the human experience. They would need to be a human, or something like that, right?
In the anthropocentrism, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I would argue that humans and other animals are not very different. We just we have very similar makeups. They just manifest themselves differently based on how we evolved and all that other bullshit. So let me see. What are my notes here? Hold on. So animals don't experience sentience like we do. How is this even considered? We look at brains, but we don't know everything about the brain. And animals have to experience something like what we consider sentience. So they have to have pleasure. They have to have pains. We know that because they try to get out of the pot. They do pleasure because my dog will do fetch, and he gets excited. I don't have a dog, but when I did, he did do fetch, and he enjoyed fetch.
Okay, yeah.
He liked fetch. He got pleasure from fetch. He didn't get pleasure when somebody was mean to him or whatever. He did silly things sometimes, so he obviously had some level of sentience. It might not be as aware as ours, but he definitely had something. And I think sentience is just a word that people use humans for intelligence. So I think the more intelligent one is, the more quote-unquote sentience they have. So I think as your intelligence grows, according to human beings, we consider that person more sentient because they're more aware and they're more able to observe their surroundings better, which I would say is sentience. So the more intelligent something is, the more sentient it is. But again, we've already talked about intelligence. Intelligence isn't important. I have a 30-year-old cousin who has autism, who can't speak and poops his pants every day. And I'm not killing him, and I wouldn't argue
You
to kill him.
can't kill him. You're not allowed. You're
I'm not allowed to kill him.
Right? You would go
And
to
I
jail.
would argue against killing him.
If you ate him, people would hate you, dude. Your family would never fucking talk to you ever again. Dude, if you killed your cousin who is virtually like chicken in consciousness, right? And no offense, like he's cool as shit, but like
Yeah,
he's got the
I
consciousness
know.
of a chicken. And like if you cooked him up and he would like feed your family for like he's a big person, if I remember
He
correctly,
would
right?
feed my
He would
family
feed you
for
for
a
a
week.
minute, right? You could survive a long time, man. I mean, dude,
Yeah, for a
200
week.
pounds, dude, that would be a long effing time you could eat off that. Make rice and chicken and soups out of that.
No, I
But
would.
like literally there would be books about you, right? That would be so interesting to
Yeah,
us
they
as
would
a
be like,
species
yeah,
that you did that.
crazy buru internet
Yeah.
personality, crazy man cut up his autistic cousin and ate him and fed him to his family. And this sounds outrageous. And if there are viewers, which there probably aren't, but if there are viewers who think this conversation is just absolutely abhorrent, then you should seriously consider factory
Yeah.
farming. That's what you should consider. Like if you think
Yeah,
that
we're not abhorrent.
if
That's
you
abhorrent.
if
Yeah,
you
keep going.
think that killing my cousin and chopping him up, let's say I cut my cousin's head off and start drinking his blood, or like just chop his balls off and start drinking blood out of his wound there. If you think that's insane,
Freaking scrotum there, yeah.
right? If you think that's awful, then you should seriously consider what you're eating for dinner. That's what you should. That's what you should think about, and that's what this essay is about.
Unholy scrotal beverage, right? If that's the unholiest of scrotal beverages, like you
Yeah.
need to stop eating meat, or like at least if you're not gonna stop, it's okay because I'm not gonna stop anytime soon. Maybe I should. I'm not gonna get into that right now, right in a second. But like, I'm not gonna stop. But like, if you want to like pretend that you're not like at least doing the Holocaust every day, I'm Hitler every day. Every time I walk through McDonald's, you want to call me Hitler? I'm gonna be like, oh, is it because I'm eating the chickens? Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I'm
I
lucky
wouldn't
it's
say
not
you're
illegal.
Hitler. I would say that you're enabling it on a very small level.
Yeah, I can't stop it. Like I'm not in charge of it. I guess you're
Yeah,
right.
you
Like
can't
I'm
stop
not
it.
Hitler, and I'm in charge of it.
Yeah.
I'm the little boy in the Hitler Youth. Maybe that's what we
Yeah,
are,
you're
right?
just going
I'm the
along with
little
it.
boy in the
Yeah.
Hitler Youth. I'm like I'm never gonna be able to change it. Like they will kill me if I don't. Like, I guess I could stop eating it, but I don't know. I don't feel like making that argument with myself right
Yeah.
this second. But
So I
but
have
yeah,
this.
I think we've made. Yeah, go ahead, take it away.
No, I agree with everything you said, and I have this. I have this image here, and it says the pantheon of dead philosophers. The more names you drop, the smarter you are. That was just a dig. I don't know why I put that in there. That was just a sardonic thing that I put. It's unnecessary to the article, but the reason I put this
It's
in is
cool image, though.
because I put philosophy is semantics and doesn't account for the essence of suffering. A lot of philosophers try to capture the essence of suffering and explain what it is, but a lot of philosophy will actually make arguments for killing animals and why it's okay to kill animals. So that's why I put this here, is that if you, and that's what I put here, if you think about it too much, you can make all the excuses you want, you can do mental gymnastics and all this philosophy to try to, like, you know, reason away why killing animals is okay. But if you pontificate too much, you'll think yourself into a lobotomy. That's what I put here. That's the purpose of this. The moral agent argument, like, oh, they're not moral agents, they're not able to, like, observe our morality. I would say that's all bullshit. That's all semantics. We make the morality, we make the rules, and then we're telling a bear to abide by that rule. That's fucking ridiculous to me. That's incoherent. That doesn't make sense, and it wouldn't be fair to humans. So the next thing that I go into is, if they're lesser beings, like the argument claims, this argument could easily be used on human beings from any predator that happens to come above us. So the only reason this seems absurd is because we don't have a predator above us. But consider for a moment, like, I think in this article I put, imagine
It's
for
like the Twilight Zone episode, right? There's a
Yeah,
Twilight
so-
Zone episode about
exactly,
the
so-
man.
Right,
Yeah.
so imagine for a moment an advanced species of alien from the constellation Kasterborous arrives on Earth. And the constellation Kasterborous is actually where the Doctor from Doctor Who is from, so that's where I took that from.
Okay,
That's just
cool.
a little random reference.
Nice.
They are far more intelligent than humans, and they see us as insignificant as we see other animals, useful only to mine the gold needed to line the wiring in their super advanced, faster than light super ships. And then, in this case, suddenly the human race is cattle to these aliens. This is why the survival of the fittest justification fails as a long-term sustainable worldview. This type of violent Darwinism only produces a favorable result when you are at the top of the food chain, and the moment the apex predator arrives, a creature stronger or smarter than yourself, you are now subjugated by that creature. If they use that same argument, you are now being lined up and forced through the meat grinder, and when you ask them why, they'll tell you to read a very long book by some dead guy with a really weird sounding name, which basically amounts to, "We're better than you." Thank the gods for the meteor, otherwise dinosaurs would rule the earth and I wouldn't be writing this PETA advertisement. So my argument here is that if you make the argument that survival of the fittest and we're the strongest creature, then you have to make the argument when the super advanced alien race comes down and makes that same argument to you and then starts cutting off your mom's head and eating her. You just have to. You have to.
And they wouldn't
They
accept that. They would be like, we gotta fight the aliens. All the movies are let's fight the aliens.
They
Every
would fight the
alien
aliens.
domination movie is like, fuck the aliens. Like every movie that's even about like even JRPGs. I'm gonna bring it. This might be a cool point. JRPGs are about fighting God, right? Like they're
Most
about
of them,
like literally the person that created me and that told me how it is like I'm gonna fuck that. So like humans, if we're so smart, then like all these appeals to like nature and appeals to whatever are like they're stupid. They're copes, right? It's like I can pretend. No, it feeling like us means we shouldn't like make other things feel like this. Then we shouldn't boil lobsters alive for sure, right?
We shouldn't.
Like man, oh man. I've made arguments before for like trash can veganism, right? Like if you eat hot dogs out of the trash at the Circle K, like maybe that's like not harm animals because it was already made. I don't know. I think me personally, I don't think I have free will. I don't think I get to choose. I don't think I get to choose what I eat.
You're a determinist, yeah. I'm kind of a determinist as well. And we've gone over this in other essays. Please refer, like the footnote. Let's put the David Foster Wallace footnote is, please refer back to, I think it was probably one of the Xenosira videos where we talked about free will or something. I don't remember which one. Maybe it was Sharon the Wanderer
long.
because of random generated numbers or something. I don't remember, but we've talked about it a lot.
Probably. I do remember having that conversation though. I'm gonna skip question 5 because I think we've covered that, like about, or at least I've talked about.
No,
Like,
I like this
unless you
question, and I want to
answer
talk to you about it.
I'll do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I eat meat, and so do you. I didn't want you to think it was like challenging you, like something to be tongue in cheek and kind of funny. Like I
No,
know
I
we
like this
both, unless
question.
you've changed. I eat it. I actively eat it. I don't think I'm gonna stop eating it anytime soon. So why? It's more for the audience. Why are you preaching to us about this? I really want to know what you think.
Sure,
I think I know, but like the audience needs to know.
I really like this question, and I didn't take it as you affronting me because
Good.
I don't see it as that because I agree with you. Why would anybody take this seriously from somebody who eats meat? And I will profess that I do eat meat sometimes. I'm not a vegan. I'm not even a vegetarian. So I eat meat, and you do as well. So why am I preaching to you? So as a preface, one of the flaws of this essay, I think, is it comes off as too preachy. I think this essay does come off as too preachy, and I think that's one of the flaws of this essay. And that was at the end. I try to save face.
I thought like when I read it, it was preachy. And I didn't think of it in that way. I just thought it was really good. But one of my aggravations, or like one of my worries, I was like, man, he must have gone vegan. Like it read like it was coming from a vegan. But anyway, I don't want to derail it, so keep going.
Well, it is coming from a vegan, technically. I mean, I'm not an in real life vegan, but I am. Whatever. So, as a preface, I think one of the flaws. I think one of the flaws is that this comes off as too preachy. But I try to save myself later on. Kind of. Let me try to find it. I think even. Why am I trying? Okay. Yeah, I type even if one does not fully believe in these concepts or have definitive answers to the questions, the fact that the questions exist at all should give one pause when considering the treatment of non-human animals. So throughout this article, I use this term non-human animals because I think it's a good term to use because if I put the treatment of animals, people, I know that encompasses me, but other people don't maybe, and I'm kind of drunk right now. But anyways, if there is even a chance that we as humans are more similar to non-human animals than we initially thought, more alike than different, then the genocidal justification starts slipping away. Perhaps all the excuses, the semantics, and the philosophical posturings are simply byproducts of the subconscious collective guilt that we feel as a species, knowing that we brain bolt, skin, tenderize, and eventually package the meat of cows in tight polyvinyl chloride wrapped over plastic trays. So that's what the essay's from, and
that's a great little paragraph there. That's awesome.
So this is the crazy thing. When I was reading "Consider the Lobster" by David Foster Wallace a few days ago, and he wrote something very similar to it at the end, which I'm going to go over as well. So after David Foster Wallace compares the act of boiling lobsters to a Roman carnival or an Aztec sacrifice, he says that he thinks that comparison that he just wrote seems ridiculous on its face. He writes that the reason...
The Holocaust example.
Like the Holocaust example, exactly. So he thinks the reason it seems extreme to me appears to be that I believe animals are less morally important than human beings. And when it comes to defending such a belief, even to myself, I have to acknowledge that A, I have an obvious selfish interest in this belief since I like to eat certain kinds of animals and I want to be able to keep doing it, and B, I have not succeeded in working out any sort of personal ethical system in which the belief is truly defensible instead of just selfishly convenient. So even he acknowledges that, he eats meat and he's having these questions, and that, he even tries to examine why he still thinks it's okay to eat meat, and he obviously doesn't. He should be a vegan just like I should be a vegan. So the next part the next part I get into is why am I being so preachy? None of this really matters. So it doesn't really matter. What does matter is that hypocrisy, which is what I do and what David Foster Wallace did when they tried to say that eating meat or imply that eating meat was murder or bad. Hypocrisy does not invalidate that argument, ever. So
I don't think you're a hypocrite. I don't think you are, right?
No, I am a hypocrite.
No,
for sure.
you admit you're doing wrong. You admit, right? Like when you
But I
eat
do
meat,
it. But
you're
I
doing
continue
wrong.
to do it sometimes.
That
So
doesn't mean you're a hypocrite. You're saying a hypocrite, right? Would say, and this is about me staunchly defending, like not just you, but like the definition of hypocrite, like.
Mhm.
Or maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe it is hypocrisy. But like, you're not
no, it's hypocrisy. I would
actively
argue it.
condemning. You're condemning meat eaters. You think meat eaters? Well, as long as you condemn yourself, right? And as long as you are also condemning yourself, I think you're still like. I don't know if you're being
That's a very
hypocritical.
Christian outlook where it's like as long as you forgive yourself, you get into heaven, and that's fine. I don't disagree with that. What I was trying to say is that hypocrisy is that I think eating meat is murder, and I don't think the act of eating meat is murder. The act of killing an animal is murder, and you are supporting that killing by eating it. But it's a very small support. If I stopped eating meat today, that would not stop factory farming. It would not. It would keep going on forever. A lot of people would have to stop eating meat. Like everyone would have to, or a lot of people would, right? To get factory farming to stop. So the hypocrisy here is that I think that eating meat is really bad, but I do it myself sometimes. But I also used to smoke about half a pack of cigarettes a day. But at the same time, I would tell people not to smoke. So does the fact that I smoked half a pack a day invalidate my argument that you shouldn't smoke? No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's
knows.
awesome comparison. Wow.
Everybody knows. Everybody knows that smoking's bad for you, and the fact that I smoke doesn't mean anything. It's still smoking is still bad for you. Should one actually smoke because I was a hypocrite and smoked? No, that's ridiculous. Don't smoke. Even if I'm sitting here smoking a cigarette and telling you not to smoke, don't smoke. Don't do it. So me smoking does not invalidate the argument. Ultimately, the purpose of the essay was more to be like, you need to think about what is going on behind the scenes, and you need to be aware of that. And hopefully, the more people who think about this stuff, the better. That's basically the point of the
example. Like your smoker example, I still don't think you're a hypocrite. I don't still think it's hypocritical. I think
you're getting caught up in semantics. So what does hypocrite mean? So
to me, and like maybe we should define it, but I think a hypocrite is someone who will like
oh wow, what a
actively.
great
I would
definition.
never go to someone. I wouldn't. While I believe eating meat is bad, and I'll say it's bad, I'm not going to go to someone at KFC and be like, "You should be ashamed of yourself."
Okay, so the definition, and definitions are bullshit. We both know this. It's all semantics, but this is the definition that I am operating on, actually. So the definition here is right. So, sorry, one second. The practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. So by this definition, I would say that I am a hypocrite, and I would say that you're a hypocrite as well. But hypocrisy does not invalidate an argument.
Sure. And you're probably more right, and this is probably just semantics. I would disagree just because my moral standard is that eating meat is wrong. If someone catches me eating a hamburger and they're like, "Hey man, you're eating a hamburger," I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fucking up right now." Like that'd be my thing. I think that would be like I'm not doing the right thing. Like I believe murder is wrong. Yeah. If you catch me murdering, I don't think murdering is hypocritical unless I start trying to like give an excuse for me, right? Or if I start pretending that what I did wasn't murder. Like when I eat a hamburger, I don't know, but that's just for me, like important for the definition.
So you're attacking on something at the end that says, I can be this definition that Google says is a hypocrite, but I'm not actually a hypocrite unless I deny the fact that I'm contradicting myself. Basically, is what you're saying.
Right. I baked that in for some reason. I would disagree with Google there. Like I baked that in. I think for me, a hypocrite has to be like manipulative in somehow, right? A hypocrite would never sit down and be like, "Yeah, eating meat is wrong," while eating a hamburger. I would. Like I'd be like, "Yeah, this is totally terrible. Like I'm fucking committing murder."
So you would say that. So you would say that for me to be a hypocrite, I would have to be eating a chicken nugget, and someone would come up to me and say, "Hey, aren't you like vegan?" And then I would have to be like, "Well, eating this chicken nugget is not actually eating meat because, like, it's
right."
Or you're saying I'd have to deny it. I don't. We can go back and forth.
Or you
would
have to be lying about it, right? Like,
or I'd be like, "Oh, this is a fake nugget."
Right, or like, yeah, that's a weird situation. This is a totally weird hypothetical, but like,
It is, yeah.
really, there probably are hypocritical vegans that are like going online or going to the marches and being like, "Fuck you for eating meat, fuck factory farms,"
Mhm.
and then like eating their parents like ham sandwiches like at night, like, and then literally trying to be like cool about it, right? Trying to get the cool points.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to get the vegan cool points. You're not trying to get the vegan cool points. I
No, I'm
don't think,
definitely
and that's
not. No.
why I'm not. No, because I'm not a
I
vegan. I
don't
don't
actually
eat
like
that way.
most vegans. They're very annoying to me, to be
Yeah, me
honest.
too. I don't bring this up to anybody but you, my thoughts on eating meat, right? Because I eat meat because I know that if I bring them up to other people, I might enter hypocrite territory, right?
Yeah,
For
I
my
would say
definition of hypocrite.
I
Like,
would say I think vegans are annoying for the most part, but I think ultimately if I wanted to be the purest version of myself that I could be, I would be a vegan, and I'd probably try to go for that. And also, let me add this. So again, the purpose of this essay was not to be like to not to chastise, and it wasn't to be preachy. So that's one of the flaws is that this is too preachy of an essay. But that's fine. The reader can think I'm a vegan and just super preachy. That's fine if they like that. But
it's not preachy though. It's great. It's not preachy, but continue.
so the purpose is you need to think about what's going on. It's the same purpose as consider the lobster at the end where he
Yeah.
said you need to think about what's going on and like you need to think about your behavior and if you feel good about what you're doing and eating meat is that okay. Um, so to me, not eating meat, me personally, it's not going to stop factory farming. I'm one person. I'm not even that popular. I don't command or lead followers who do as I do, right? So if I
Right.
was an influential figure like Morrissey, and I released an album that was meat is murder, and I still ate meat, I would think that that's not very good. If I was an influential figure, I would probably, even though hypocrisy doesn't invalidate the argument, people are not that smart, and they would probably just point at Morrissey and say, "You are a hypocrite. You eat meat. What you say is stupid. You're wrong. I'm going to eat meat because you're a hypocrite," which is an illogical thing to do. But if I was an influential figure, I'd probably practice what I preach, and I probably wouldn't eat meat. And I think I'm trying to not eat meat, but it's very difficult for me because, as you know, I have the diet of a 6-year-old, as you know. My wife thinks I have some sort of like, psychological food aversion illness. That's what she said.
I think I got
And
the same one. Yeah, I think
and
my
yeah,
wife says the same thing.
and
Yeah,
my wife
that's
thinks I'm
good.
some sort of like high functioning autistic person, but just not a diagnosed. That's what she also thinks. But I don't really care about either of those points, and I don't agree with those points. It's just something she says. I think people are individuals first and foremost, and I think we diagnose mental illness and different levels of autism for those who are slightly different than the norm. And I do not subscribe to this line of labeling things. So I would never. Technically, I am diagnosed with ADHD as a child. I've told people that before. That's true. A doctor diagnosed me. But ultimately, I don't even agree with that. I don't agree with the line of labeling people's behavior in these illness or these kind of
Yeah.
disorder type of ways. I think this is me. I think this is my personality. I think this is who I am, and that's it. I don't need to be like, oh, I'm autistic or I got ADHD. To like, I don't see the value in labeling myself those things. It just
Right.
it just seems like saying like, oh, I'm hyper. Like we're replacing
Yeah.
it now. Like oh, I'm autistic. That means I'm super fixated on my interests. Like yes, I am super fixated on my interests, and I
Yeah.
am a little
I want to
weird.
do what I want to do.
I
Yeah.
am a little weird. Like a lot of people are like that in different ways. I just don't see the value of I don't know. I won't get into that because it's kind of borders on pissing people off. But next question is: was this game good to play? I think that's your next question.
You can't steal my questions, bro. You can't start leading the questions, my guy.
All right, never mind. Go
Wow.
back. Go back to the autism and
Uh,
the mental illness point. I think that was a
what?
good point.
What?
I just don't want to piss
I
people
don't
off.
know. I don't know. For me, like hypocrisy. Going back to hypocrisy, like I think, like if hypocrisy is supposed to be like a sin, I think. And so if I'm gonna not like someone because of it, I think someone can fail themselves. Like I think stealing is wrong, but I've stolen before in my life. That doesn't make me a hypocrite. That makes me a failure, I think. This is my way of I use the language, and other people might not. That's what. It's not that I think I'm not a hypocrite. I look at myself as a failure when I eat meat. Not as a hypocrite. Like I don't think other people should go to jail and not me. If eating meat was against the law, I should go to jail. I absolutely should. But
If eating meat was against the law, she should go to jail. I agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, because I eat meat all the time. Like I ate it tonight. I ate it probably like 2 or 3 times. I ate a lot of potatoes, so that's good. But
That's great. And I have the diet of a 6-year-old. I eat like potatoes, like French fries. I eat pizza. I eat noodles, mac and cheese. I eat like plain noodles with butter. So a lot of the stuff I eat is not vegan approved.
Mine's barely better than yours though. I'm trying so hard. Like I eat a lot of like air fryer, like fried potatoes
Oh, you
and
got an
crap, and
air
also
fryer?
the
Nice.
store. But yeah, I got one. I got a little one. It's not as big and nice as yours, but I got a little one. But I buy like little potato wedges and crap. I did eat like today. It was a steak taco, so it's still got meat, so it's still like murder. But I'm trying cilantro and some little things. But yeah, I'm really picky. I don't like a bunch of crap like mixed together in my food. I like just like one or two things.
Yeah.
I'm not as picky as you for sure. But compared to my wife, like my wife also thinks I'm autistic. Definitely because of some of my eating habits, right?
Yeah.
She's seen me get better, but it's like I just like to eat just simple things.
Seems we have a
Tries to eat when I
similar
was little.
dynamic there with our wives. My wife eats like pretty much anything. Like she'll eat a lot of stuff
Yeah,
except like certain seafood she won't eat. But like she'll eat anything, and I'll look at her food
they
sometimes,
can
and
get
I'll
her order wrong, dude. And like Sarah, they can
yeah,
get
and
her
she'll
order
just be
wrong.
like
And
she'll be
she'll
like
say
this
no.
is fine. She'll be like it's okay.
Fine.
Like what do you mean?
Yeah, I'm like
Like
I
what the
cannot.
hell?
I'm mad. Like
Yeah,
this is I can't eat this. I'm hungry, and this is I can't
yeah,
eat this.
yeah. I'm the same way, and yeah,
Do you
it's
have
interesting.
anything that you will? I'm curious about this. Do you have anything? Because there are a few things that I quote unquote don't like, but I can eat. Like there's things that like I'm trying to think of one, like a Reese's cup. I don't really like Reese's cups. I don't like eating Reese's, but if I had to and I was really hungry, I can swallow and like eat a Reese's cup
Why
fine.
would
Do you
you
have stuff
ever
like
need
that?
to? Um, I guess I don't know. The question's weird. So I like broccoli and peas and other weird vegetables. I wouldn't eat them like for fun. The Just to level with you, I see eating as something that I do out of necessity, and if I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it, if I'm gonna do it, and I'll eat snacks too, but if I'm gonna do it, it needs to taste good. It needs to have I need to have pleasure out of it, and I get the most pleasure I think out of like potato-based foods, which I could very easily be vegan if I could just survive off those. But I
You
find that
can, I think, right?
you can technically if you take supplements, but what I found personally is like if I eat a bunch of potatoes, like fries, and that's all I eat the whole day, I'll like feel weird or I'll get a headache like later in the day. Like usually that's pretty consistent. I need to eat like a full course or like a pretty balanced meal with other things. So the things I eat that are I'm getting progressively more drunk, but the things I eat that are non-vegan, I'll eat tacos sometimes, very rarely, which is beef. I'll eat chicken nuggets sometimes, which are chicken nuggets and tenders, which is rare. Um, I eat those very rarely. The main things I eat that are non-vegan approved are like dairy. So I'll eat like a lot of like mac and cheese, which has cheese in it, which is non-dairy
Yep.
approved. But also, this is a whole another thing. I don't see the big deal with like getting milk from a cow as long as it lives a happy life in a pasture where it can just roam around.
I
I
think
don't.
they have to. I don't think it works that way though, right? Because like the cow, I think has to be like falsely impregnated, right? Like human
Oh,
women
does it?
aren't
I didn't know
producing
that.
milk every day. I think like look it up to be sure, because I think that blew my mind like a few years ago. I haven't known this very long, but I think, and I never looked it up to verify. Someone told me. I can't remember where I
Mhm.
learned this, but I think yeah, and it made sense to me. Like my
Yeah, that
wife
makes
isn't
sense. Like
producing
my
milk
wife,
right
yeah,
now.
exactly. She doesn't make milk,
So they
right?
abort cows, I think. Or something like that. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's fine. One thing I like, and you might not like this, I like eggs. I hate like admitting I don't like boiled
I
eggs,
don't like
but I
eggs.
like fried eggs, and I like runny eggs. I like putting eggs on toast. I like eggs a lot.
What do
And
eggs taste
chickens,
like? I don't think I've ever eaten them. I've always shied away from
really,
them just because
I
of
don't know
how
why.
nasty
They're
they seem.
very complex.
And I
Eggs can
won't
be
try them.
cooked. It depends what kind of eggs, what they taste like. Eggs can be cooked like 20 different ways. and like each way is like so much different. It's like computer games, dude. Eggs. I need to write an article about eggs, dude. And like eggs are computer games.
At the end of it, you
Some
need to
eggs,
acknowledge that what you're talking about is just straight up murder. Fucking murder is what you're talking about right now. You
no
need to acknowledge that.
eggs. You could, I think, in theory, if I was to ever like not eat meat, I think chickens are domesticated enough. They could be like a cat that produces something you can eat every day. That's what, like, in theory, a chicken could be. Not factory farm
Do you
chicken.
have to do any trickery to make a chicken lay an egg?
No, I think it's every day. I think even in the wild, like the wild, no, look, our chickens are domesticated. The wild chicken isn't a chicken; it's
So
called
it's like a
something else. But I
period
think
is
even in the
what I'm
wild,
hearing. It's like a period. They just shoot out the egg like
so
a
what?
period.
Yeah, yeah. But instead of having a period, every day you shit out an egg. I think if me and Sarah could keep like 12 chickens in our backyard, we could have like 12 eggs every day, and it wouldn't harm the chicken.
Yeah,
I
I would
don't
agree with
think.
that. That was my argument for milk as well. But if you need to like stick stuff into a cow to fake, then I would say that's
Yeah.
pretty bad. Then,
But look
but
it up because I don't know. I've never looked it up. It makes sense to me
mhm.
that it doesn't sound like normal. Like you just, like my wife, like your wife, you just can't go up and get milk anytime. It has to be around like the baby like having time. So with cows, it's probably similar. I imagine. So, but around the time, if a cow really had a calf in the wild and you wanted to like sneak some milk and it trusted you, I think that's fine. But I bet the milk we get, dude, is probably from 1,000 cows, right? It's probably not from just one cow. It's from 1,000 cows, probably taken to a facility and mixed together. That's why cheese. That's why vegans are even like my leather belt. That's the skin of the cow, right?
You know what I'd like to
Mm.
do ultimately? I think we're just talking about violating the rights of living creatures, and we're trying to justify it right now. And I think I think it's perfect. I think it's actually really good, and it goes into the essence of the essay. And even David Foster's considered the lobster is that humans will just talk about this kind of weird bodily autonomy stuff. If we replace the word cow with like your wife or any other person, we would be like, wow, this is fucked up. But for some reason, we don't. And I think that's great, and I think that ties into the essence of the article, which is we should really think about how we treat animals. Um, shit, I had a point, but I'm too drunk, and I was going to go into it, but I got sidetracked.
Oh, sorry.
You were talking about milk, you were talking about eggs, it was related to that. Um,
And what we eat in our diets and what we eat in eggs are good. I love eggs, but
yeah.
not all of them. Boiled eggs are nasty. I don't like those, but a lot of people do. But those are like nasty. I don't like boiled eggs. That's nasty shit. Like that's.
I think
But
to
why?
get
It's not really. It's not really right. It's just my opinion, right? Food is so weird. Like I literally
food
think to eat a
sucks.
hard boiled egg, you're a gross human being. But like and Sarah agrees. Like my wife agrees, like don't eat fucking boiled eggs or you're nasty. But it's a very popular dish, and you don't eat eggs at all, right? And you probably
Nope.
think I'm gross for eating eggs at all.
Yeah, I don't eat eggs. It's weird. I think
Yeah,
to top it
eggs are
off, I've
awesome.
had this highlighted for a while, but to top the animal eating part off, you may not think eating animals is bad. Um, you may think it is. I think regardless of political views, philosophical leanings, and religious backgrounds, there is one thing we know is true about all animals, including ourselves, and we are animals. We don't want to die. We wake up, we interpret the world around us in some way, we feel pain in some way, and we don't want to die. Otherwise, we
Yeah.
would be dead. We would have killed ourselves, or we wouldn't exist. We all share that in common, I think, regardless of what our quote unquote IQ might be, what we look like. Um,
Yeah.
it's just not. It's just not good. And again, I don't think eating meat is like a terrible sin that you should go to jail for. You're not the one killing the animal. You're part of a system that you were born into that is
No,
normal.
you're right in the way.
Just
Yeah,
think
you
it.
can't
Just
help
think
it. You
about
can't
it.
help it.
Just think about it. And if I had money and shit, and I could make a difference in the world, I would probably try. I think one of the things I would do if I had a lot of money, like if I was Elon Musk, for example, and I had real good values, which Elon Musk doesn't have, because otherwise he would be doing this shit. I would make a company that is like, I'm going to make butter, taste just as much like butter, but it's going to be totally synthetic, and it's not going to have any animals. So that's what I would do. I would say, I'm making butter, no animals involved. It tastes just like your normal butter.
That's
period.
The priority.
I would spend a shit ton of money on doing that. I would spend a bunch of money on making like a skim milk, 1% milk, 2% milk, and whole milk, all non-animals, but taste exactly like they would. I would spend a shit ton of money doing that. Trying to make meat, like fake meat, taste like meat. I would be trying to do that, but I don't have that power. Elon Musk does not have that power, and he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. He just tries to send people to Mars for no fucking reason. You can't really fucking survive on Mars, and that doesn't help us right now.
Elon Musk is horrible. Yeah.
So you have 2 more questions at the end of the article, I think, and then we could probably wrap this up.
Okay, I love your structure there. I love the we don't want to die, we wake up, and then the last one is and we don't want to die. It's I love the parallel structure there. That was really.
Well, we just repeated the first line.
So last two questions. So
yeah.
Like as a result of revisiting this essay, are you gonna try to excise like some meat from your diet, or are you gonna stay like the same? Like you don't eat meat a lot, you know. I don't think even I even hate like the micro like justification. You don't need to have it, right? But are you gonna try to? Would you like at 80 years old or 90 years old when you think about yourself? Do you want to be like vegan or something, or does it?
I would love to be.
I
would love to be 100% morally consistent with everything I do. So ultimately, I would like to become fully vegan. My wife says, I've told her before, like, let's stop eating meat, or I'm gonna stop eating meat, and she was like, you would die. That's the only like protein you get. Like, you eat potatoes for everything else, and I'm like, okay, that's true.
Do you like nuts?
I do. Yeah, I like peanuts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like nuts. Like nuts is the protein, or beans. Do you like beans?
Yeah, I do like some beans. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
I think
chili.
Go ahead.
Like in chili, I like beans and chili. I won't eat. I don't know what kind. My mom makes a specific kind. I don't know.
It's probably kidney beans, probably. If it's chili, it's probably kidney beans. So, like, I think about it a lot. Like, I would like to be vegan, probably, and it would be like, I don't know. I want to eat like not animals. Like, I don't want to eat animals, but like then I'm eating nuts. I'm eating peanuts and almonds, and
well,
they're really good.
We could take supplements nowadays. Yeah, we could take a bunch of supplements. It gets expensive, but. Ultimately, I would like to be a vegan for sure. I'd definitely like to be a vegan, just to be able to say I'm consistent morally.
It's just too much chewing for me. It's too much chewing to have to chew that many peanuts and that many. A hamburger is way like the caloric content of a hamburger is like one hamburger or this many peanuts. I think, and. I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to feel my my hunger. Because I like peanuts, I like almonds, and I like Brazil nuts and hazelnuts. They're just as good as hamburgers. They are, but I have to eat so many of them.
You gotta eat a lot more of them, not to feel like a headache at the end of the day.
I'm too lazy.
There's ways you can do it. You can be a vegan and like get all the supplements you need and have a good diet where you don't feel like you're dying at the end of the day. There's ways you can do it. There's ways I can do it. I've done it several days. Well, not actually, but it's whatever. I would like to be vegan. I would like to revisit my diet. I think to be morally consistent, I would have to, and that would be the ultimate goal if I could do it. Really, I would like. Yeah, exactly. You said the next question was the game good to play? Is that your next question? Was it?
Well, how do you know that? Yes, it is. Was this a good game to play? We're finishing up. We're right at the 2-hour mark. We need to finish it up. So, was this a good game to play? Do you like this game?
Yeah, I'll finish it up. So, yes, it was a chill game. I really like this game. I could play it with one hand on this nice little handheld, the Mio Mini Plus. Great little handheld. Looks nice too. It's very aesthetic, you know. Looks like I really love how this thing looks. I got the clear one. You can play this as
How
one
much did
hand.
that cost? Was that like 70, 80 bucks?
It was like $60 or something like that, or maybe I paid like 70 or maybe 80 from Amazon, but I could have got it cheaper, I think. Um, but yeah, it was cheap. But I could play.
I'm jealous of the 4-3 like layout. Like you got the screen to line up like perfect. Like the Retroid's
Yeah.
cool, but it doesn't do that. Like you've got like the perfect lineup for an old school like Game Boy
Well,
game to play on.
yeah. I need to end this because my daughter's going to sleep, I think, and I think my wife is sitting there listening to me talk. Is that right? Yeah, she is. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
anyways, no,
Okay.
it's fine. So, what I wanted to say is that this is a good game. It is a good game. At the end of this essay, I included an image of me. Hey, babe, are you here? He's not. So, I included this image of me here.
What?
No, I was talking. Are you here?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, come here. Look. So, at the end of the essay, I include this image where it says, "In my sorry way, I love you." And this is actually a quote from Morrissey, one of his songs on the album Voxel and I. He says, "In my sorry way, I love you." You can see here I have my son here, and I'm actually looking at 2 different devices. 3, if you include the TV in the background that's playing Gundam. So I could play Dragon Quest with one hand while looking at my phone, while Gundam is playing, while my son is sleeping on my chest, and in my sorry way, I love you. Really, I should be paying more attention to my son, but I'm so obsessed with these fucking devices, right, that I'm just looking at 3 of them. 3 of them at once, you know? It's just fucking insane. And that's what I included this image here at the end, is that I could play this game with one hand, with my son on my chest, with 2 other things going on. So I was doing like 5 things at once here. And that's it.
Oh,
That's
well,
it.
he's awesome.
Now I have to put my
awesome.
daughter today to bed, so, and I'm drunk, so I think we covered
Yeah,
everything, and we're at the 2-hour mark, so.
The 2 hour mark. We've reached 2. We're doing 2 hour videos now, so it's perfect. So yeah,
Yeah, I like
I
that.
think we covered everything. It was perfect. Yeah, it was a great video. The best one we've ever done.
I should cut these up into like 5-minute videos, like part 1. Like then I can get 20,000 videos.
Dude, we'll never have to work again.
I was considering like doing like you know how some videos have like timestamps. You know, like this is when we start talking about the animal ethics at 1 hour and 20 minutes. You know, I think that might be useful for some of our videos. Actually, maybe I should do that for all of them. But I'll look into how to do that. But in the meantime, I think this is a really good conversation. I really like this. This and our Metal Gear video are the best videos so far for all of our viewers. So
I'm glad you liked it. I felt good about last night. I thought this one's really good too. I love. No one is doing this shit, and I don't care.
nobody
If no one
is
else
doing
wants
this
to.
shit. Literally, nobody
This
is.
is the
Like
coolest shit on the internet. Like,
nobody's
this is the
talking about
coolest
games
shit.
like this. Nobody.
Having the games in the corner and having the music and the video. Last night we did the O.J. Simpson trial and the first like Metal Gear game that most Metal Gear fans haven't played. And like tonight we're talking about fucking the very real problem of killing animals.
All the
And
videos you see on YouTube that are super popular about video games are like, here's why Armored Core is not as good as Armored Core 3 and 6 doesn't live up to the and the mech customization isn't as good. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Nobody
Shut
cares.
the fuck up. It's like, I'm gonna kill you right now. Like, be quiet. I don't talk about this. Do not.
These people aren't talking about
Yeah.
real life shit that matters. And I think we should end the video with that. I have to put my daughter to bed.
Yeah, of course.
I love you. I love the viewers.
I love you.
I'll talk to you later. Peace out. Have a good night.
See you later.
Good night.
It's a good vid.
Bye.
Good